Yes, what time is it?
Live with the Joneses.
Yes.
Where faith comes first, family is our mission, and together every day is an opportunity to be the light of the world.
This is a show where we talk about homeschooling, parenting, marriage, problems. Just kidding. No, we don't. But we get real. We have fun. We take an hour. Well, it was an hour, but now we used to take an hour. Now it's about 30 minutes show with you guys here on Facebook. And then if you miss us today, we have the live shows on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, we post them up on YouTube the next day. So if you can't be here with us live on Thursdays, you can check them out on YouTube or on Facebook. And you can even get on podcasts. So check us out on iTunes or whatever your favorite podcast platform is.
So if you haven't liked our page, The Jones Life, please go ahead and do so, because we always post different things that, books, activities for the kids. Yep. So like us, go to our page, The Jones Life, which we're live right now, but we always like to put on my profile because it seems like people get to see us as well. So this is every Thursday at 8 p.m. Pacific time, right? So today's, we always start with a quote. So today's quote, as you guys saw on the title, we're talking about homeschooling. What's homeschooling all about? So you guys will get to see and hear from us how homeschooling has been for us. So today's quote, we always start with a quote. It says, "Parents have the first responsibility for the education of their children."
And that's from the Catechism of the Catholic Church.
Pretty hard to, really, okay, we have to be the first educators of our kids, but it's so true. It is. It's so true. And, we did a video about homeschooling and how we feel about homeschooling our kids and why we do it. So it's one of the popular videos that we get most of the views. So if you haven't seen it, go to our YouTube channel and we talk about why we are homeschooling the kids. They're still little. They're 3.5 and 4.5, but we really wanted to take that challenge and try it and see. And so far we've been trying it for good like a year, but we have tried good for a year. But there's always those, that's what's fun about homeschooling. Like, it's not like an exact, sit down and we're gonna do this for like 8 hours, so anyways, that's why we love it. So today we're going to be talking about the blessings and the challenges of homeschooling. Yes, there are challenges. Like anything else, I think there's challenges, but so yeah.
And today's episode is brought to you by Audible. And if you're a busy person like we are, then you probably don't have a lot of time to sit down and read a book. But with Audible, you can get a free trial and you can download a free audio book. That's the offer that we have for you guys today. You can download a free audio book and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/thejoneslife. And they have a library of over 180,000 books that you can choose from. And we usually recommend a book or two on the show. So today we'll be recommending a book later on. So stay tuned for that.
So again, if you just are tuning in, thank you for tuning into our channel. We do have a video on YouTube of why we are homeschooling. So today's topic is about why we're homeschooling, not specifically why we're homeschooling, but the challenges that we have been facing with the kids. Like I mentioned, they're 3.5 and 4.5. The challenges, but the blessings as well of homeschooling.
The good and the bad.
The good and the bad.
It's never perfect, right?
So challenges. What have been the challenges? For myself, especially because
she does most of the work, so I'm kind of just gonna kick back on the side over here and relax.
Exactly. No. It was brought up since like when we first had the kids. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna send them to private school? Are we gonna send them to Catholic school? Or public school, so we're like, I don't know, just, just dreading and thinking about sending our kids to school in general. I was like, I'm gonna cry, and especially my 4-year-old is super, super shy, and I'm like, he's gonna hate it, like, he's gonna hate me for taking him, So I'm like, okay, and then he started, like, hearing this stuff about homeschooling on a Catholic radio show, I believe, or somewhere, so he's like, well, how about homeschooling? I was like, you're crazy, like, I'm not even a teacher. I'm not the person to be sitting down, teaching kids. Like, there's no way I'm going to do this. And I'm like, don't even bring up the subject ever again. And that's what Josh is saying now. Like, don't ever say that ever again, But,
He gets it from his mother?
No. But, but then, like we always say, it seems like God puts the things like in place for us. So then we started finding like homeschooling stuff, and I was like, this seems pretty interesting, And I'm that type of person. If you know me, I love arts and crafts. I'm a very creative person. So I'm like, when Ricky said it doesn't have to be very structured, I'm like, well, how are you gonna like teach your kids not to have structure in your life? So in a way, you get to not play around, but I guess, kind of go with the flow of how what they like,
Well, and if you watch the video, so the video that Joanna was talking about on YouTube, that one talks more about the why, and we go into that whole idea of unschooling, which I think is what she's hinting at. But today we're going to talk more about the challenges that we face, particularly Joanna, because she's the one who's here most of the time. The challenges that she's faced throughout this past, year? About a year?
A year and a
doing
half,
homeschooling. Yeah. But then also the plus side, what the benefits have been, what the blessings are of being able to homeschool. So we're going to talk about both of those things. And so we're going to start with the bad. Usually they ask you want the good news first or the bad news first. So we'll talk about the bad news, the challenges. What are the challenges that you have faced?
So for me, it was sacrificing my time. I think as a mother, I'm an event planner. I love... I've always, since I was 16, I've always, worked for myself and I like working. I'm a busy person, I like to be up and down. So just knowing that I had to sacrifice my time and leaving the things that I like aside was just not like cool with me. I was like, there's no way. How am I going to do that? So that was one of the big challenges for me, is sacrificing my time and leaving the things that I love, and so. Yeah, that was the hardest.
Well, it hasn't been leaving them completely, right?
No.
But definitely cutting
back on what to
right?
do, And so sometimes I would have to stay up late, to do what I love, do my event planning stuff and or ministry and stuff. So it's definitely sacrificing, one's time as a mother. But so that was a big one. That was the biggest one, sacrificing my time on the things that I like.
Well, and definitely. Parenthood in general is sacrificing your time, but homeschooling takes it to like 1,000%, right? Because most people can get rid of their kids in the morning and then pick them up in the afternoon, so they have kind of the whole day to just kick back and relax. But with homeschooling, you don't get that break, right?
You have them 24/7 here, so just But so that was the first. That's the
but
first.
How
one.
have you overcome that challenge? Do you think?
Keeping them busy, having a schedule, which I hate because.
I'm still trying to get her to implement a schedule.
I've been very good.
Structured person.
I'm what's that type of person, like in the spot, like whatever comes.
Go with the flow.
So it has really helped me, to stay in schedule. So we had to do a schedule, and just basically keep him busy until Ricky comes home and it's like, it's your turn. He has to take over because 8-9 hours,
You need a break after that.
With two toddlers.
Full time for that whole. It's rough.
It's rough. So that was the hardest one for me, is sacrificing my time. And Ricky always tells me, like, I prefer like you not worrying about the house being spotless, clean,
And we'll get to that one. That's one of the other challenges.
And just being with the kids and focusing on that. And like I said, that's the fun thing about homeschooling, that you don't have to be sitting down for 4 hours, as long as you do things with the kids, that they're learning, that's a big plus, so
it's not like traditional school where you're standing up at the blackboard telling them do this, do that, or you can give them an activity to work on that will help them learn a particular skill.
Exactly. And you mix whatever you think they're interested in, so that's the fun thing. Sacrificing my time, for them, which is okay, because as a parent, I think we do it since the beginning of of life. We get to leave friendships because now we're married. We get to live friendships because they don't have kids, and then you have kids, and so it's your life changes, so a lot.
But it's a good thing though, right? So I mean, getting married and having children, in a way, it changes the way you live your life, because you no longer live for yourself, you're living for others.
And that's the next one, pushing yourself for them. And so sometimes you get out of your comfort zone. I'm not a teacher, but I think as a parent, you get to learn these things as you go along. And you get to learn a lot of things, yourself too. Like, we watch, like, Animal Atlas or something, and I'll be like, oh, Ricky, you know that the hummingbird flies like 500 like miles or something like that, and I'm like, it's fun. It reminds you, when you were in school, and so it's fun to know that you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, for your own kids, for your kids. So sacrifice and pushing yourself. So that's 2. The next one.
So, but pushing yourself it's a challenge, right?
Yes, it's a challenge, pushing yourself to do what your kids love, So that's the second one. And the third one, I'm pretty sure everybody complains about this one, patience. We all need patience. We get home and I'm like, why don't they just do it and listen, but
just sit down and shut.
No, I don't say that. But it teaches you patience. Like Ricky mentioned, he's a very structured person. I'm not, and so I don't like pushing the kids. If they don't want to do it, okay, go play. Don't do it. We'll do it back when they're interested. We get back on it. And so I think that's something that we have to learn, to be patient with the kids, because that's the whole point about homeschooling and unschooling. Is that you don't get to push the kids, when they're not in the mood, or so learning patience through those situations, through those situations when you're just about to throw yourself outside in the cactus.
But I think, and I've read quite a few homeschooling books. I try to read it and process it and pass it on to her because she doesn't read.
I don't read.
So, and a lot of the books that I've read so far on homeschooling talk about that whole idea of letting go, because we want to have absolute control over every single activity that the kids do throughout the day. We want them to do this and that. And kids need freedom sometimes to just run around and be crazy. That's one of the ways that they learn and grow. And so being able to accept that, because we're adults, we're on a different level, and we can, our attention span is a lot longer too. And so I think
our kids
it's hard for us
minutes.
to understand at their level, I think, sometimes. So that's definitely, I've seen that as a challenge for Joanna.
Yeah. So patience, learning patience with the boys. Definitely, they push a button sometimes. And then another one is, I lost my place already.
The dirty house. So I'll talk about that one.
I was like, that's his turn.
Coming home from work, you work all day and you come home, and it's nice to come home to a clean house that's spotless, it smells good, the air temperature is just right, especially right now in the summer. Mm-hmm. With homeschooling, that doesn't happen. So, that's another one of those things where you kind of just have to learn to accept that. And I think in the beginning it was difficult because I had to learn to accept the fact that, Joanna's here all day. She's not just laying around, even though sometimes I would get home and she would be laying on the couch. You assume that she's been there all day, but it's a lot of work. And I know because I've been home some days with her, or I've been home when she had to go out to an appointment or something. So I know how it is being with the kids. It's not easy. Constant cleaning up after them all day, cooking food, washing dishes, folding laundry. So there's so much to do. And at the same time, to also want to do homeschooling, it can be overwhelming. And so I think for me as a husband, my role is to be understanding of her, be appreciative of her, because she's already putting so much time and effort and energy into the homeschooling, into being there for the kids, that if she's trying to keep the house spotless, then she's not going to be putting in the same amount of effort with the kids. So what I always tell her is I prefer her being with the kids than making sure the house is 100% clean. And how I respond to that is I get home and I have to be willing to help out. I'll straighten up the house, I'll wash the dishes, I'll, sometimes help out with dinner. So there's different ways that I can support her in her role as teacher, I guess. And that whole transition from when I get home, things, I have to be helping out.
Yes. And like Ricky mentioned, it is more work, for myself, because I am the main one, doing all this stuff, which
big mama.
No, Ricky comes home and he just plays Legos with them. But in a way, he's teaching them it's time to relax, and we're both doing.
I try to get them to slow down.
Yeah.
To relax and ready for
and
bed.
like during the weekends, we get to go to museums and all this fun stuff, so he gets involved as well too, so but it's definitely more work. It's challenging because it's a long day. It feels like a long day because you're, like Ricky mentioned, you're literally with them all day, and so we'll talk about our new things that we're going to start implementing in our family to keep them busy and not just stay in the house, you know. So it's important that it's going to be a long day, so staying 8 hours inside a house with the kids, it's not fun, you know. So
it's not fun. Don't do it.
Don't do it. And so we'll start talking about what other things we do throughout the week, during the weekday with them.
Well, I think it's important to point out that we're not experts either, you know. Like you said, you've only been doing this for a year, so we're still learning, and that's one of the things we'll talk about when we get to the next section about the blessings. So we'll get back to that shortly. Another one of the big ones that people will always ask about, always bring up when you mention that you're a homeschooler is, oh, well, what about socializing? The kids are not going to be around other kids. They're not going to be able to socialize. Well, that's not as big of an issue as you really think it is. It's, in some ways, it's actually a benefit. So when it comes to school and education, they're not necessarily there to socialize and to make friends and to do all of that. Those are good life skills, and they still have opportunities to do that outside of the classroom, like when they go to recess and things like that. But when they're in the classroom, they're not really supposed to be socializing. They're supposed to be learning. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the differences with homeschool and going to traditional school is the kids go to traditional school, they're there all day because they have to have all these different breaks and lunch and socializing time. But when it's here in the house, they can focus on one activity and then be playing around and then come back to another activity. The schedule is flexible, and there's not as much of a need for all that socializing time because we're here as a family, and that's one of the blessings that we'll talk about later. But there's family members that they socialize with. We can have people over all the time. We can go out. When we go out to museums or parks or things like that, there's kids around and they play with the other kids. So it's not as big of an issue as people think that it is.
And we'll talk about, again, how we're starting to implement, the socialism.
Ways to supplement that whole lack of socializing.
Yeah. But that is not the issue in homeschooling. The homeschooling, like, you could do so many things, for them to socialize outside your house as well, too.
Right. And I think one more thing, and they talk about this a lot in the homeschooling books, too, is that when it comes to socializing, you want them to build deep, lasting friendships. And a lot of times in school that doesn't happen because they'll move from different schools to different schools. And they don't have those deep, lasting friendships that they can have outside of school. For example, in the homeschooling environment, they're building strong, deep bonds with family members. So with parents, with siblings, with cousins, with aunts, uncles, all kinds of extended family, and not to mention friends outside of the home.
And keep in mind, we have heard different families that their kids go up to high school, and there's a couple of universities that accept homeschooling kids.
Lots of universities.
Lots of universities. So don't think just because you're you want to homeschool your kids that they cannot go to these great universities out there. So that's not an excuse as well. There's lots of really intelligent homeschooling kids. So again, that's not an issue.
Well, part of I think we're going to transition now into the blessings of homeschooling, the benefits. One of the primary benefits is the ability to custom tailor the education to each child. So we have two kids that don't necessarily learn the same way. They're not the same at all. They have very different personalities. So by homeschooling, Joanna's able to tailor the way she teaches them certain topics, tailor the topics that she teaches them, and customize it depending on their learning styles, their personality, and that's something that you don't get in the classroom. So that's a benefit of homeschooling that also helps when she's talking about university. A lot of these kids have a much stronger education because of that, so that when they go to university, they're already, far ahead of some of their peers.
Right, and your kids better than anyone else, right? So I know one of them is, his attention span is like 5 minutes, and he likes stickers and coloring, so I have to focus in that area. I know the other one, likes to actually pay attention, so, you focus on what you think your kids exactly, so what better way for you, like our quote, to be the educator of your kids, because you get to know them really well. So now moving on, we're going for the blessing. So for us, when we first started doing this, it's like, it's so true, I want to be able to be there with my kids. You know, it's only 18 years that you have them for sure.
For sure.
In your home, because by 16, even 15, they already want to like go with their friends and do all this fun stuff. But you literally have your kids for 18 years of their life here at your house. So what better way to be with them those 18 years and build that unity with them as a family, and I think that's so important, because we have heard these teens when they grow up, when we go to retreats, it's like, I wish my mom was there, and actually listen to me, or I wish my dad was there, to play with me. And so that's one of the most big issues that we hear teens these days. My parents weren't there, or maybe they did, but not the way
longing for that time with their parents.
Hello, Omar, thank you for joining us. So for us, that was one of the biggest thing, be together as much as we could, because we know that that's going to help them in the future to build their own families and build their own relationship with other people as well,
And so the big benefit of that is building that family unity. It also means that we can get, like I was mentioning earlier, the rest of the family involved. So Joanna's the primary teacher, I guess, Miss Jones, but there's also other family that can be involved. For example, we have our goddaughter here this week, and she was even helping out with the kids and helping to get them through their workbooks and things like that. And that's really a blessing, that I can get involved. I can be here in the evenings and work on things with them that complement what they learn throughout the day. So it's not just the one teacher; it's all of us getting involved. We're all learning new things together, like Joanna said, learning about hummingbirds or whatever. So we're all learning together as we go through this process, which I think is a blessing.
Yeah, and for us, the second important thing was God Center. When we had talked about this on our, homeschooling video, how sometimes these we're Catholic, and we know a lot of churches, schools, that the faith is very limited. It's not all the way full 100%. So what better way to start that in your family, when homeschooling? So like for Ricky, for example, he wants to start going to church, on a daily basis, and we have seen a lot of families how positive that is, for them.
Exactly. And I think the big challenge is, in the schools, you're not even allowed to talk about God. You can't bring God into it at all. So when it comes to being able to homeschool, you can focus everything that you do around your faith, which for us is very important. That's one of our values, to be able to incorporate our faith into the education that we're giving to the children. And that doesn't mean just, sitting down and having a Bible study, because we have 3 and 4-year-olds. They're not going to do a Bible study.
Right.
But we do have, books about Jesus that we could share with them. But what we're talking about more than that is to be able to sit down as a family to breakfast, lunch, dinner, to say grace together as a family, to have prayer times. And again, we have 3 and 4-year-olds, so we can't really have a long extended prayer
This is
time.
an example. For example, we sit down for breakfast, or we make our blessing meal, blessing grace, and Ricky goes and does this big prayer, and I'm like, Ricky, no, these are 3 and 4-year-olds, it has to be short. And then Joshua the other day is like, Daddy, that's too long, you just have to say in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yes. Okay, I'll go right
But
now.
to be able to pray with them at all is something that they will never be able to get in a public school.
So that's important, putting faith in your into your family, and for that same reason, so what better way for yourself to do it? And there's so many activity stuff for the kids to learn. These are young kids. You don't want to give big old books and stuff. You want to be interactive, because that's what they love. That's how they learn, so we'll share some of the ideas that we do.
So on future videos, we'll talk more about kind of the ins and outs of how we do these things, or what, different ideas. But today we're going to finish. We have a couple more points that we wanted to cover as far as the benefits or blessings of homeschooling.
Freedom!
Yes, freedom is a big one. And freedom, I think, is something that's misunderstood in our culture. It doesn't mean just do whatever you want, but to do what you should do what you ought to do.
Yeah.
So freedom in this case, we're talking about the freedom to be able to get out of the house. So say, the kids are just not feeling into book learning today. go on a field trip. We can go to the museum. We can go to the park. We can go wherever really we want to go. And the beautiful thing is that it's a more organic way to learn. It's just living life. It's not necessarily that the only way to learn is to sit down and read a book, right? That's one example. But to be able to go to a museum, to even go to the grocery store, they can learn about fruits and colors
how
and numbers.
Killed.
So anywhere you go, they can learn something. And so that freedom to be able to get out of the house, to get out of the classroom, and to educate them just through the everyday life, I think is a blessing.
Yeah.
But for us to go on vacation, if you want to go on vacation when your kids are in regular school, it's a lot harder because they can only miss a certain amount of days. But when you're homeschooling, you can take the education on the road. It never really stops. There's not you can schedule a summer break, but the learning never ends, right? So it's something that I think with homeschooling, you have that freedom to be able to go to do things and to still make sure that your kid are getting that quality education.
Right. And again, we don't think there's nothing wrong with public school teachers. We
both went to public
exactly
school.
We learned a lot. We loved the experience of public school, but just knowing that we could do it from home and be with our kids and be the the primary educators.
Right.
We know that that's going to help them to have a better bond, with their
right.
parents. And I think that's what this world is missing, that love of parenthood, in the family. And so, props to all those teachers and everyone that, that we know that are teachers in private schools or public schools. Your calling is a great one, but again, it's a blessing to be able to be a homeschool mom, because not everyone can do it, because
right.
there's, both parents have to work, so again, being able to do it itself, it's a blessing,
And that reminds me of one of the other sacrifices, one of the other challenges that we didn't mention in the beginning is to be able to homeschool in itself requires sacrifice. So for us, I could send her to work and we could send the kids to school, and we would be able to live more comfortably. We would have more money.
He's like, I don't want to go to school. He's like, I'm scared.
We could have a bigger house and all these things. But to us, what matters more is being with the kids, being with our family, because we want them to know that they're loved. We want them to know that they are a priority. All the other things that we could get if Joanna went to work, they're nothing compared to the time, the precious time that she can spend with them now. And I wish I could be at home with her to be able to do this. So it's a sacrifice. And I know there's mothers out there that would love to be
Karate Kid.
Okay.
Yes, he wants to do karate.
Now.
So that's something we're going to look into. But to be able, I know there's a lot of mothers who would wish they could be able to stay home with their kids, but they can't for financial reasons. So it is a sacrifice, and I think part of Joanna being able to stay home means our lifestyle has to, make certain sacrifices in order to make that happen. So that's another one of the challenges of homeschooling.
Yeah. We talked about life skills. They get to learn a lot of, life skills when you go out of the home, so we love going to museums, nature. We love, going outside, the mountains and learning about, they're boys. They like to get dirty, insects and all this stuff, and so that definitely, they learn a lot outside,
And even inside the home, learning life skills, I think, is one of the other benefits that you don't necessarily get in traditional school, is that, because that's just book learning for the most part. But when you're in the home, you can have them
washing
the dishes, helping
put the groceries away,
clean up. Yeah, so there's so many ways that they can learn a life skill, at the same time learn whatever the certain topic is that they're learning for the day, incorporate those things together. But it teaches them also how to live, how to be helpful, how to be respectful, responsible, generous. So all of those qualities, all those virtues that they'll never learn in school, because in school the focus is meeting the criteria, hitting that grade point average. That's the priority. But at home,
okay.
So that's our priority in school, whereas in the home we want to make them into good people.
Okay, yeah. So those were this kid's getting involved.
The challenges and the blessings of homeschooling.
Yes. So we want to share with you guys, like I mentioned. Okay. That's all that.
Here, Elijah, come over here so you can show them your stuff.
We get lots of books. The boys love books, and we have, a funny story. This weekend we went to Sunday Mass, and there was a time when probably Elijah was like 2.5, maybe last year, yeah. We started learning, Elijah,
Elijah, come sit over here, please, so we can show you the book. Show them the stuff.
Hold on, guys, hold on. We started learning about clouds, the name of the clouds. So, cumulus, stratus, cirrus. And they like remember like so fast because I made an activity, and it was with like cottons and stuff like that, And,
I made gas stickers.
Okay.
Like
and these projects we put them on, Elijah,
boy,
please.
we're not done with the Legos right.
We try to put them, Elijah.
Come here, buddy. Come
We
sit
put
with
them on the
Daddy.
Jones Life so you guys could get to do them if you have, young kids in your family. Look, you're going to show them. Hold on, Joshua. Mommy's still talking.
Not yet.
And so the story, Joshua, please wait. Mommy's not done. They're excited to show you guys what they do. So we're in Mass, Sunday, and Elijah, this one. Okay. They were like, Daddy, why is that angel picking up the cumulus nimbus? And he's like cracking up inside, and he tells me.
In the middle of the Mass, he's like, Daddy, why is that angel pushing the cumulonimbus?
Oh my gosh.
But the fact that he's 3 years old and he knows what that means, that's something that, I don't think most 3-year-olds know what a cumulonimbus is.
Not even our goddaughter, she can't even say it. And
so we're driving
13.
in the car and he's pointing at the clouds, telling us what kind of clouds they are. So
look, the Sirius and all this stuff, so. And I think that's what hold on, buddy. That's what motivates us to continue doing this because we know that they're learning, So my time, my sacrifice, it goes, it's working, Right.
Yeah. And I think that's another benefit, because I think one of the challenges is that you want to try to keep up with the kids that are in traditional school, and it's never going to happen. And so there's that pressure to compete. But I think what we've seen is that our kids know things that kids in school don't know, and kids in school know things that our kids don't know. And it's just letting them learn more at their natural level, their own pace. So that's a benefit as well.
All right, so that concludes our struggles and our blessings. And now they want to show you, they want to get involved. They're going to show you some stuff that we do. Like I mentioned, Elijah's going to be 4 and Joshua is going to be 5. No, he's going to be 5,
Joshua's
right?
going to be
5.
5.
I don't even know my own kids. This is what happens when you're homeschooled. I'm just kidding. And by law, every state has, their own laws. By law, you have to register them until they're 6 years old. So I'm making my house, they call it like a private homeschooling, and you could only homeschool your own kids. You cannot have like kids come over and, be the teacher and stuff. And it's super easy. You just do an application and that's it. But there's so much, curriculums out there. And let us know if you're interested in learning more about homeschooling and how we're doing it. Because we're thinking about, there's not a lot of information out there, So maybe we're thinking about doing a book. So let us know if you're interested in learning more about homeschooling. If you're interested, or your friends, or, other families, I think that'll be an awesome, thing to start doing. Okay, Joshua, come here. You want to show them? So we love, one of the tips that we do is we love going thrift shopping. Thrift shopping, because we find these awesome, things. You want to bring that puzzle? Can I see that puzzle, please? So yesterday we went to this thrift shop that's called thrift store. There you go. That's called Axe, and it's like a Christian thrift shop, and we always find books for them. But this is a dinosaur like floor puzzle, and they love dinosaurs, and you get to do this, and then they get to learn like the names of the dinosaurs, and it's by Melissa and Doug. And this stuff is expensive. We got it for $2.99. So how awesome is that to buy things again for their learning and education. So we did this week. We're starting to learn our numbers because I want them to learn their numbers.
1.
No, that's not 1. That's 6. So we did their popsicle sticks, like the giant ones. And sorry, the numbers are upside down. Backwards. And then I had them glue these little, cotton balls. They're like, from the dollar store. All this stuff is from the dollar store. And I would write the number, and then they would count. Okay, finish it. So they're starting to learn their numbers. So this is something that we did this week.
1.
They color them and stuff.
2.
So that's that. We always love to do arts and crafts. So this is one of my favorite ones that we did like 2 weeks ago. We had a little girl here with us. So we did the handprint. So again, I actually sit with them and do it because they're not going to do it on their own. This is upside down, buddy. This is Captain America.
Who's that?
Spidey.
Who's this?
Batman.
Batman. How does the song go?
Batman.
Oh, there
What about
you
this one?
go.
How's this one go?
Spider-Man.
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 So that's another activity. So those are like arts and crafts. So again, you know, when they're young, that's all you can do. It's like as much as, you know, arts and crafts. I did this again. This is a listening, you know, listening. What is it called? Like a skill, like learning to listen.
To the
Instruction. So I would do something, and they would have to do the same. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but you keep, you know, pushing it. So I would do something, and I'm like, okay. With Elijah, again, he's still not. Look at Elijah. He was just like splattering everywhere.
Baby.
Yo, he's a
You're
baby.
not a baby.
But look at Joshua. He was very close to mine. So
Me little.
this was. Oh, he's little.
Me little.
Okay. You're not that little.
Calma.
So again, this was learning, you know, to listen. They started to listening skills, you know. So that was fun, and it's Canvas, so we could keep them and remember, you know, keep them for memory, you know. So why are you copying me?
Me
It's
too
not
heavy.
This is another thing that we got. We want to start learning about maps because we love going out.
Traveling.
We love traveling.
Road trips.
So hopefully that's our goal, is to
You
travel,
broke it.
you know, cross country
It can't
in
broke
an
it.
RV. Why not, right?
We can't do
So
it.
this is like the California map in a puzzle. So we haven't done this. We got it yesterday for like 79 cents at the
It
thrift shop.
broke it.
Yeah, Elijah's doing it. And some of the books that we use, it's Elijah likes this one. It's like an activity book, and it's just like circling and Xing. He didn't know how to do a circle. He didn't know how to do an X, and he learned like literally in 10 minutes. And look at his circles now. He's 3.5. That's pretty good. Look at his
Look
X. Okay, put it back.
Take the pop.
So he has to start, you know, to
Abby,
color
take the
Elijah.
pop.
You know, specific. And this is how, you know, this is how I do homeschooling. Like, don't interrupt me, and I'll be like reminding them, like, oh no, you know. So that's another thing that we have to remember. They're just kids. So this is one that we do. So again, finding all this stuff, like, you know, at dollar stores and stuff, you know. So again, you just because you homeschool, that doesn't mean your budget, you're gonna break the bank, you know. Like, no. We get lots of free books from their grandparents, you know, so that's like, we say, you know, no toys. We prefer educational books. So
An educational
for their
stuff.
birthday, they get clothes. We say
Legos.
clothes,
'cause
Legos.
that teaches
Can I see that one? But Costco has these awesome books. I'm pretty sure Sam's Club, Amazon. It's these like thick books. So these are like curriculum stuff, you know. Start using them. They have stickers and stuff. So this is Joshua. It's a pre-kinder because he's 5. So we started using that, and he loves it. So you know, that's some of the stuff that we do with the boys.
And so our intent with this video, yeah, we did
Oh,
we
that's
did
a
another video on
activity.
Facebook about that, so you can check that one out. But I think, you know, our idea with this video is not to like try to convert you and say that you have to homeschool your kids, or if that you don't, you're a bad parent. You know, we think it's right for our family, and we're still learning. Joanna's getting her feet wet, so it's a learning process. But the reason we want to share it is because we think it's an important concept for you to think about, to pray about, and to discern. Maybe your family is called to homeschool.
And it's never too late.
And if you are interested, if you are thinking about, you know, if you're on the fence about it, we wanted to recommend a book. And this book is called Your First Year of Homeschooling, A Christian Mom's Guide to Balancing Faith, Family, and Your Child's Education. That's by Elizabeth Jenkins. And as we mentioned earlier today on the show, you can get that book for free if you go to audibletrial.com/thejoneslife. You can just do a search for that book. Type in homeschooling and it'll pop up. Your First Year of Homeschooling. And it's got a lot of the ideas that we talked about today and more. And you can get that book and a free 30-day trial to Audible by signing up at audibletrial.com/thejoneslife. So we want to close today with a question, and that is, would you ever consider homeschooling? Why or why not? So comment below and let us know what you think. We're not going to try to convince you one way or the other, but we're interested to get your feedback. Would you ever consider homeschooling? Why or why not?
Thank you. Or if you know somebody that, you know, would benefit them, you know, benefit homeschooling. Would be great. What's next? Sorry.
Subscribe.
Oh yes, again, thank you. This concludes our video.
Episode, our live broadcast.
Please go look at brother.
Bertha
That's
says
our
that,
picture.
Joanna, you look pretty. Yes, this is my smoking hot white.
It's the lighting. That's the lighting. So this concludes our homeschooling video. Again, if you want to learn more about why we are homeschooling, or if you're interested about homeschooling, or if you don't know what homeschooling is all about, there's so many ways you could do it. Go to YouTube, subscribe. We have, I have to sneeze, sorry, go.
You can find us on YouTube. This is live, folks. So you can find us on YouTube. Just look up The Jones Life. You'll find us there. We have videos on homeschooling there. You can also, we have those same videos here on Facebook as well. So we're on Facebook at The Jones Life Blog. Subscribe to us or follow us on Instagram. We're there, at The Jones Life Blog. And on iTunes, you can get the podcast of this show there as well.
We're always posting, I'm always posting, activities to do with the kids, fun places to visit, new places that we find. So please follow us. There's always interesting things. If you're in Southern California, follow us because we're always running around, going to new places. So thank you for watching and for staying us for 40 minutes today. We went over it. Yay!
All right. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.